Okay, so let's actually render out some templates with our views. At this point, we have a simple HTTP response. We can't really do anything with the page, and we want to render out some kind of HTML page. So the first thing we're going to do is create a folder to store our templates. We'll build out some templates, and then we need to let Django know where to find these templates and then how to render them out inside of those views. So in our project's root directory, let's go ahead and create a new folder here, and we're just going to call this templates. And in theory, this folder can be named whatever you want. Templates is a good name for it. And let's just create two files here. So in this case, we're going to do projects.html. And then the next one inside of that templates folder, this will be called single-project.html. So I just want to make sure that the naming is obvious there. So project.html. Okay, so we have our two templates. Let's just do this. We'll create some kind of h1 tag here. And we'll just say projects template, write something out here, get some filler data, save that, and then let's go to the single project and we'll do an h1 tag again, and we'll just do single project.html or single project template. Okay, so now that we have these, that's a misspell right there. Okay, we'll save that. Projects template and single project template. Okay, so now we need to let Django know where to find these. So let's go into our settings.py file. Remember, the main configuration file for our entire project where most things are set up here. And the first thing I want to do is actually import the OS module. In theory, we don't need this for the latest version of Django, but because this seems to confuse people, we're going to use the OS module here to set some file paths. And we're going to go into this templates variable. It's on line 56 if you haven't touched anything yet in settings.py. Let's close out these two templates here. And let's go to dirs right here, so directories. And in here, what we're going to do is we're going to set a file path. So we're going to say os.path.join, and we need to tell it where to look for our templates. So this is a list right here. We can add multiple lists, but we need to let Django know where we're going to look for certain templates. We just need to basically add this folder into the list of templates that are available. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the base directory. So we're going to use this variable right here, and this base dir variable points to this root directory. So we're going to go in here, let's paste that in there, and then after base dir, we're going to tell it look into the templates folder. So go back into this root directory and find a folder called templates, and that is where our templates will sit. So this just let Django know where our templates are. So now I can go ahead and save that. Let's close this out. Let's go into our views. And in our views inside of our app here, we'll go to views.py. We're going to use this render method. And this render method is what's going to allow us to render out these templates. So instead of this HTTP response right now, let's go ahead and take a look at our page. Remember, our server is on right now. So on port 8000, if I refresh it, it just says here are our projects, and that's an HTTP response. So we'll get rid of this and we'll just do render. And then the render method takes a couple of parameters, and one of those that's required is going to be the request object. So this same object right here, and then a comma, and we're just going to specify the template name. So in this case, this is going to be projects.html. So this is going to be a page where we list out all of the projects here. So there are more parameters that can go in here, but we're not going to focus on those just yet. So now let's go ahead and refresh this. And there we go. That's our projects template. So if we wanted to add in some more data or I guess content into our template, we can go ahead and create some p tags here. And let's just look up some lorem ipsum text here. Style this a little bit. So lorem ipsum. This is going to be just some dummy text here. So we'll just copy this. And let's just paste this into that template. So I guess I'm showing you the key difference in returning an actual template than an HTTP response. It might be an overkill in explaining it. You probably do get what's going on here, but just wanted to show you. So now we can return a template. I'm just super zoomed in. I'll zoom out and there we go. So let's go ahead and render out that next template. So because we configured this in settings.py, because we did this, Django now knows where to find that templates folder. All we have to do is specify the template name. So we'll just take this right here. We'll replace, so return, render, request, and then we can do single project. So we'll just do single-project.html. And let's see what that looks like. So we can go in here and let's just grab a single project. At this point, we're passing in a dynamic value. It's not going to be output, but we see that it's working. So the next thing I want to show you is how to actually include some content in a template from another template, which is kind of weird. So we're going to talk about including in template inheritance. So I'll just show you what I mean by this. So let's say we have a navigation bar. It's going to be the same navigation bar on every single page, and we don't want to have to actually code this up on or in every single template. What if we want to change one little link or one logo? We don't want to have to go and modify the HTML content in every template. So this is pretty standard when you're working with templates. What we're going to do is we're going to build out something called navbar.html. So any kind of page, whatever we want to call it, this is just going to be our navbar. So we'll just do navbar.html. So this is going to be our navigation. So right now, let's just go ahead and do logo, or not logo, but let's just create an h1 tag, and we'll just say logo, and we will create a line break. So an HR tag, and that's just going to create like this line across the page. Now to actually include this beautiful nav bar here, we're going to go ahead and just use the include tag, and I'm going to show you what that looks like here. So we can go into projects here, and let's say we want to add in this navigation bar into the projects page. And as far as the HTML, ignore all that. We're going to use standard tags and so on later, but for now we're just trying to show you a few things. So let's go ahead and use these tags. And Django uses something called Jinja, which we'll get into in a second what this means, but for now it's just an opening and closing curly brace, 2% signs, create some space inside of quotes here, and these can be single or double quotes. Go ahead and just do the template name. We'll just do navbar.html. So we're letting it know that we're including the navbar inside of this page. Now in here, we just need to write include like that. And now we know to include this page. So we'll save that inside of our projects.html page. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So if we go here, let's go into projects. That was the wrong page here. There we go, we see our logo. So we can actually repeat this multiple times. So let's go ahead and just paste this down here a few times. If I save and refresh that, there we go. So we're just including a part of another page or another page inside of one page here. So that's including. We can take any template and include it inside of another template. Now that's useful right there, but what's more useful here is going to be something called extending a template. So at some point, we want to be able to build out an entire template and not have to include a nav bar, and then maybe we have other components or styling that is set for the entire website. We just want to build one main theme, style that theme, and then modify content depending on what's going on in each page. So let's actually just go ahead and remove this nav bar, and we're going to create a template called main.html. So for the most part, I think most of the pages will actually use the styling in this page. So we're going to use this main.html page to format all the pages here. So for now, we're going to create our HTML tags, and most text editors, if you start writing HTML, it's going to give you the boilerplate, so you can hit enter, and this is going to give you a basic HTML document. So we have our doc type. If you're not familiar with HTML, we have an opening and closing HTML tag, our head tag where we can include some kind of metadata, and then our body, which is what's visible to the user. As far as these links right here, we're going to comment these out. In VS Code, I can do Control, Shift, and then /, and that's just going to go ahead and comment this out. So I don't need this. And in here for the page title, let's just call it Dev Search. And now that I'm including this into the main template, it means that I don't have to modify the title on every page unless I want to. So we have a main template, and what we can do now is we can actually include the nav bar in here. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll just do our two curly braces. We'll just write include like that. We're including the nav bar, and then we're just going to do in our quotes here, we're just going to write navbar.html. So now every page that inherits from this template will include this nav bar, and any styling that we add in here will be visible on every page. Now to specify where child content goes, so any of these pages right here, let's say projects, we want to list out this content, we need to specify where this is allowed inside of this page. So if it's not making sense, it'll make sense in a second here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create two tags here. So these are called block tags. So we'll just say content block, or block content actually. So we'll just do block content. So that's an opening block tag, and then we need to create a closing block tag. So now we can just do end block. So that's just telling us that we're ending this block tag. So we'll do end block, and then which block are we ending? Content. Okay. So we have our template. This is HTML for the theme here. Now all child content, so for this projects page, all this content will sit inside of these two blocks once we specify it. For the single project page, once it extends this template or inherits from main.html, this content will sit in these two blocks. So what we can do to actually use this, and let's just say something like this is coming from theme, so we'll just do h1, and let's put this above the nav bar. So this is the main template. Okay, so I just want to show something that separates it, and that way we'll also see this nav bar. So if I go to this page, the projects page, let's look at what we have so far. So at this point, if I refresh it, we're just seeing this content right here. It's just the content that is on that page. So what I could do here is I can just go ahead and go to this template. This is projects.html. I'm going to use these tags again. And now instead of include, what I'm going to do is say extends. So we're going to extend a template. So this template that we add in here, or whatever page we add, is going to be the parent now. So we'll just do main.html. And then to actually specify where this content is supposed to go in this template, we have to use these same tags and wrap the child content. So we have a parent-child sort of system here. Now what I'm going to do is just paste these block tags here. So we have an opening one, some space here, and a closing one. And remember, to close it, we're just going to have to do end block. So I hope that wasn't too confusing, but we extended a template and we told this template where we want the child content to be. In this case, the child content is going to be the projects page. So if I go to this page now, if I refresh it, now we see our main template with some kind of weird tag, which we'll fix. Then we see our navigation bar and our project content. So let's say we wanted to add some kind of footer. So let's go ahead and actually fix this in the template here. Let's see, where was that? This is our main template. There we go. And then down here, we'll just say in a p tag here. So in a paragraph, we'll just say this is our footer, or we'll just say footer. Okay, so there's our footer. So now if I go ahead and refresh that, I see a footer here and a logo. So at this point, what I'm going to do is just get rid of this because I think it made the point. Now we're going to see this footer on every page that the template extends. That logo is going to be there with that nav bar, which will at one point be a real navigation bar. This will be there because we included that template inside of main.html. Now to put this into the single project page, we just do the same thing. We go ahead and first extend the template. So two curly braces, and then we'll just do extends, and then the template name. So main.html. And then remember, we have to wrap the content to specify where that child content can go. So we'll just do block content and then end block content. Oops, accidentally deleted that. So end block. Okay, so let's go ahead and check this out. So if we go to project and then a certain dynamic parameter, there we go. We see the logo and the footer. If we go back to projects, we see the logo and the footer on every page. So that way we're not having to rewrite a bunch of code. It makes things super convenient. And then when we have things like cards for our users and those little thumbnails that we're going to use later, we can just create their own little files and then simply include them in our application. Now, there's one last thing that I want to do, and that is how we separate the templates, or one last thing I want to explain here. So in theory, we could keep our templates all in this folder, and there's different ways of separating things. But in this case, I want to use the built-in Django way to work with apps here. So I'm still going to keep this folder, and we're still going to work with how we configure things here. But remember, we want to separate things into separate apps. So that means anything to do with projects will be in the projects app. Anything to do with users will be in the users app. So let's do this. We'll go into our app here. And Django already built this in for us, so we don't have to add in a different path here. But what we're going to do is inside of the projects app, or whatever you called your project, we're going to go ahead and create a new folder, and we're going to call this templates. Now the weird thing about this is we have to create a folder inside of our templates folder now, and this has to be called projects or whatever you called your app. So later on, if you had templates for users, you would just call this users. So the structure looks like this. If we open this up here, we can go into projects, templates, projects, and this is where our templates will sit. So let's do this. Let's go into that root templates file and let's grab project and single projects, or projects and single project. Let's copy these. I guess, can we cut? I actually have never done this. So we cut that. Does that delete it? I'm not sure. Apparently not. So let's just copy this. We'll go into our app, into our apps templates folder, into the projects folder, and then we'll paste that in there. And then let's just quickly delete these outside of the main templates folder. Okay, so now if I open up VS Code, let's see what's going on here. So let's drag this in here. So now in this templates folder, we have a main.html and a navbar.html. And the reason why these sit here is because these have nothing to do with a specific app. These are going to be used throughout multiple apps. So that's why I put them out in that templates folder. Now these right here, we put these into the projects app. So these templates, because they're templates that have something to do with the projects app. So that's why we separated them that way. So let's go ahead and see what happens in our browser. So if I just go ahead and remove these, let's save all this, close this out, and let's go to the browser. We're going to see an issue here. So now if I refresh it, what's happening here? So Django is looking into our templates folder and it's trying to find a template called projects.html, and it can't find it. The reason why it can't find it is because if we go with this different file structure, if we go with this structure that keeps the templates inside of our app, inside of a folder with our app name, in this case is projects, then what we have to do is we have to specify the app name and then / and then the template. So we're basically going into projects and then we're getting that template. So that's all we had to do. We just had to modify that because this is no longer in our root URL or root templates folder. So in this case, this is going to seem a little bit weird, but it's going to be projects / projects.html. So that's just what we called our app. So if the app was called users, we would call this users and so on. So weird file structure, but it makes things pretty easy. And now our templates are separated. So now if I go to this route here, now the templates rendered, the navbar and the main.html file are in their own folder. So that's it for this video. I just wanted to show you how to store the templates, how to render those. In the next video, I'll show you how to actually pass in data into these templates, and then I'll talk about the weird template tags that we saw. So these little weird curly braces and parentheses, we'll talk about Jinja a little bit, which is Django's templating engine, and we'll just expand from there.